Hello everyone and welcome to It's a Rerun, where cartoons continue to be awesome and Underworld menus are overpriced as, well, hell of course. Oh, and I'm currently in a diner because I was supposed to meet Unova here when he decides to go on break. So while we wait for him, I may as well go over another one of my favorite cartoons called The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. But before I start the review on them, I just want to go over the genre of horror comedy in these so-called kid shows. By that I mean shows like Our Real Monsters, Coach the Cowardly Dog, Beetlejuice, and so on and so on. Horror comedies were always my favorite part about kid shows back in the 90s, as it allowed kids to be introduced to the more adult-themed movies or shows while adding a comedic twist to them. Other shows like Hey Arnold, Teen Titans, and Samurai Jack managed to incorporate a more ominous tone along with a darker setting in some of their episodes, which was something I never would have expected to see in a kid show. It creates a sense of detachment from reality that has you screaming one minute, then laughing the next minute. As Pinkie Pie would put it, instead of being afraid of your fears, you should laugh at them. Sometimes it's really fun to be scared. But sadly, after the 90s and early 2000s ended, most horror-based kid shows like this started to slowly fade away from our childhood as the FCC and concerned parents decided that they were too scary for kids to handle such trauma and were never heard from again. Until they end up in a review like this, so without further delays, let's go over the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy. For those not familiar with the origins of the show, it came to existence after a poll was held from the Cartoon Network's Big Pig segment during Cartoon Fridays.
The new cartoon stars are Billy and Mandy. Congratulations and welcome to Cartoon Network, Billy and Mandy.
But before it was called The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, it was known as Grim and Evil, two segments created by Maxwell Atoms, similar to David Feast's Cow and Chicken and I Am Weasel segment. The first segment focuses on Billy and Mandy winning a bet against the Grim Reaper in a game of limbo, thus making him their best friend forever. The second one involves an evil billionaire named Hector Concarne who gets blown up by his rival Card Commando and only his brain and stomach survives, which is then attached to a Russian circus bell. I will talk about it more, but it only has 13 episodes, so that might be saved for another video, so back onto Billy and Mandy. A typical episode of the show involves Billy and Mandy using Grimm's magical abilities and supernatural powers to either venture into supernatural locations in the underworld or simply achieving their own goals and desires, such as Billy wanting to become a superhero or doing Mandy's chores while trying to make her some easy money.
Why not use your powers for something that'll put cash in our pockets?
Stalker Sasquatch sighting reported. A reward has been issued for capture of the Sasquatch. Claim reward at Channel 6 News Building.
How ironic. Billy is useful after all.
This is one of the best setups anyone can imagine for a TV show. Anything that can happen will happen, and if not, they make it happen. With mixed results.
Reality is falling apart!
What's gonna happen to us?
I don't know, but I'm gonna hold you tight and never let go.
I love you, Grim. What about me, yo?
You'll be fine.
In fact, this show had a lot of supernatural and comedic moments that I wouldn't mind going over a few of them in order to highlight some of the best moments from this show.
Hey, Redcord. Sorry for the lateness there.
Dude, I'm almost 4 minutes in the review. Where have you been?
I got sidetracked on the way here due to my prey. My role as a supernatural hunter doesn't end, you know.
Well, now that you're here, why don't we go over some of the highlights of the show?
Okay, but can I order something first? I'm starving after that last fight with Vampire Girl Scouts.
Fine, order something, but you're paying for the meal.
Huzzah!
Now, with the Grim Reaper as a friend, you can expect to come across a wide assortment of grotesque and odd creatures, such as the Brain from Outer Space. Hey, Unova, you remember that guy? He came from outer space to eat the brains of Ennsville and was played by a dark cabaret musician named Voltaire who wrote 2 songs featured in the show called Brains and Land of the Dead.
I think so.
Okay, just making sure. Now, this is one of the more memorable episodes of the show, not only for the musical accompany of Voltaire, but because this was around the time when the continuity of the show started to drop whenever something supernatural happened. Either the characters got stuck in some weird location or were eaten alive and then somehow okay in the next episode.
There was a spectral girl on Screwdriver.
Who?
You know, the spectral exterminator from episode 10 of Grim and Evil? The one-man army that took down an entire horde of zombies and brown evil? And started dating the goddess of chaos later on in Guess What's Coming to Dinner? Not to mention his big role in Underfist? Oh, please tell me that you remember Underfist!
Of course I do.
Good. Because if you didn't, I'll cut you up into bacon and feed you to my pet Cerberus!
Dude, he's played by Diedrich Bader, the voice of Batman. I wouldn't forget to mention him in this video.
Oh. Okay. Sorry about that, Red Cord. Allow me to elaborate more on this guy, if you will.
You weren't really gonna do that, were you?
So, House Delgado is a supernatural bounty hunter with a chainsaw arm and leg inspired by Ash from the Evil Dead franchise. He is a loving tribute to many protagonists of horror films by using his weaponry and little to no wits to get through any supernatural danger that comes his way. However, since he isn't the hero of this show, he gets shown up constantly by Billy and Mandy.
What? What's happening? I look like me grandmom.
Smile for the camera.
But aside from all the creatures that Hoss, Grim, Billy, and Mandy have faced against that have made up so many great episodes from this show, one of the best episodes has got to go to Keeper of the Reaper, where Billy and Mandy's friendship is in jeopardy after one particular incident which causes them to argue and not see eye to eye on where Grim will live with from now on, since they don't want to be with each other anymore. Shenanigans ensues in this underworld court of law as a happy and peppy first-time demon juror by the name of Fred Fredberger, an elephant demon voiced by C.H. Greenblatt, steals the show with his unique, childlike idiocy that he provides, which is so enthralling that he keeps on coming back in future episodes, and he is even featured in the movies too!
Speaking of movies, my favorite out of the three would have to be Billy and Mandy's Big Boogie Adventure. Well, Billy and Mandy's shenanigans cause Grim to lose his title along with his powers, and the Boogeyman is on his way to obtain Horror's hand to become the most feared monster in the underworld. This was Maxwell Atoms' least favorite project he worked on for the show, but I'm glad at how great it turned out. And while the movie Wrath of the Spider Queen did reveal how Grim became the Grim Reaper, the story felt scattered, the character interactions were boring, and nothing was accomplished in the end. Though the crossover with Kids Next Door was a fun ride.
You know what I think is best movie, Red Cord?
Let me guess, is it Under Fist?
No! I mean, yes.
Well, care to elaborate?
Under Fist was the third and final film of the series. More strangely though, the series was already over at this point, and the film's airing was only released once at the year of release over at Cartoon Network. From what I've heard of what this movie was supposed to do, it was to create a new series to replace Billy and Mandy by using the memorable side characters that we grew to love when this show was produced, and use them all in a makeshift team of heroes with differing viewpoints in the matter of the team and their jobs. And man, how that was an awesome premise to begin with. In this elite team, we have Irwin, a half-vampire mummy who was the closest friend to Billy and friend to Mandy. Fred Fredberger, as mentioned previously, was the elephant demon juror who now has a new cool job in the form of looking more innocent and younger than his former design. Jeff the Spider, Billy's illegitimate giant spider child who was featured in Wrath of the Spider Queen as the Queen's fiancé, and has issues with connecting to his father due to Billy's arachnophobia. Genital Ska! Former commander for Hector Concane's forces from Grim and Evil. And last but not least, Hoss Delgado, the spectral exterminator, who still lives with his mom.
You're not pretending I'm dead again because you're 48 and still live with your mommy, are you?
No, mommy.
This was an interesting idea to focus more on the side characters and a great way for the series to continue, but sadly, this was around the time when Cartoon Network was under new management, and the new head of the company didn't want to continue with the old stuff, and decided to incorporate live action into the new Cartoon Network.
See and Real. The dark age of no animation. I didn't know how bad this move was since I was giving it a chance, until hindsight hit me like a ton of bricks to the face. The shows were not interesting to stay for over one season, except for the first two. The game shows were barely passable, but not anything great or worth it in terms of money, and they were rip-offs of adult shows, so there was hardly any originality and innovation at this time period. It was like the Cartoon Network versions of Quack Pack, but live action instead.
Well, at least we had good shows like Billy and Mandy to look back on. So, any last comments you want to add, Unova?
Despite most of the mistakes Cartoon Network has made over the years, they're still one of the best animation studios around I have seen, and the best place for cartoons to bloom.
Well said. It was nice having you here, Unova.
Thanks for having me, despite me being busy with other obligations. You're such a swell guy, Redcord.
Here's the check, fellas. Hope you enjoyed your meal.
Hey, I got this, Redcord. I'll go pay up front.
Wow, thanks, man. Well, thank you all for tuning in. We've watched it, you watched it, it's a wee one. He bailed on me, didn't he?